morning, everyone. My name is Rodney Fong, President and CEO of the San Francisco Chamber of Commerce, and delighted to bring to you yet another small business help desk. We are continuing to build out the library here at the Chamber of Commerce of help desks, tips, tricks, advice that all small business owners and aspiring small business owners can try to use at this time. As we all know, the pandemic was really devastating to many of our small businesses in San Francisco. Yet there were great opportunities for small businesses to grow. And so we want to try to educate and provide opportunity for all of our members at the Chamber of Commerce and the general public to try to figure out what's next for their city, their businesses as the city begins to bounce back. Very quickly at this particular stage, San Francisco is starting to feel a resurgence of activity. The downtown is starting to feel more energetic day by day. And so we're feeling that energy here in San Francisco for sure. Want to thank our sponsors, Visa, who is our presenting sponsor today and going to provide great information on practical business skills. Also want to thank Redwood Credit Union for being a continuing sponsor of the Small Business Help Desk, as well as Southwest Airlines. And today we'll have an opportunity drawing for some airline tickets from Southwest, so appreciate that. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Samaya Handy, who is our Senior Manager of Small Business Activities here at the Chamber of Commerce. Samaya?
Thank you, Rodney, and thank you everyone for joining today. Visa has been a vital partner to the San Francisco Chamber of Commerce in supporting small business. Visa has partnered with the Chamber in creating a practical business skills website to help small business to manage, grow, and start their businesses. Today's Small Business Help Desk topic will take a dive into the website and discuss how practical business skills can jumpstart your business. We are happy to have our speaker for today, Hugh Norton. Hugh is the Senior Director of Financial Education on the Social Impact Team at Visa Inc. He works on the company's award-winning Financial Literacy Initiative, which has included programs in 44 markets in 18 languages. As part of Visa's Social Impact Team, Hugh supports the company's community involvement and corporate responsibility efforts, as he's been an active participant in the financial literacy community for years and makes regular appearances at regional, national, and global financial literacy events to support various education initiatives and to speak on behalf of Visa's programs. Good morning, Hugh, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited to be speaking with all of you. I have a couple of slides we're going to look at quickly before we get into the presentation. But yes, I've been working with Visa and in the world of education going back to about 2010, 2012, and working on these programs. It's an incredible program, but Visa has a number of initiatives that we do sort of across a lot of different areas. So my team, which is Social Impact, is part of our Inclusive Impact and Sustainability team here at Visa. And you can see on this page we just have a number of different efforts that we have sort of all across my team. But today we're going to be focusing in on financial education. First off, just to give sort of a brief overview, the program has been around for 31 years, which is an incredibly long time, especially for a corporation to be doing this type of objective financial education work. So Visa, started doing this in 1991, and over the years we've run programs in 48 different countries and in 18 languages, and you can see sort of just a number of things that we have here. So before I dive into the practical business skills site, I'm actually going to show a video really quickly just to kind of give an overview of practical money skills or practical business skills and all the programs we have. as we're getting into the practical business skill side, I did just want to say, I mean, so we have worked, in the area for, more than 31 years. We're really proud, especially of the way in which we work with partners. So I mean, especially partners like, the San Francisco Chamber. And ultimately, it's only through partnerships like these that we can really have the greatest impact, into people who are really out there doing it, small business owners. And we talked to a lot of small business owners when we were creating practical business skills. And ultimately, what we wanted to do is we wanted to provide a place where micro and small business owners especially could come and find a wide variety of resources. As you look around the world, there are certain pain points for small business owners, and rather than just sort of focusing in on those 4 or 5 pain points, we really wanted to do was look at what are the lessons that as you travel around the world are going to be most important to a small and micro business owner, regardless of whether you're there in San Francisco or whether you're a street vendor in Karachi. So we organized it into 3 main sections of getting started, managing a business, and building and growing. Ultimately, what's sort of funny, I remember when we first came up with this, I was really happy about the 3 sections, and then I realized that this is a pretty common way for small business education to be broken down, which once again is perhaps a little bit of validation, towards the fact that we were heading in the right direction. But so in getting started, I'm gonna walk through these 3 sections quickly, and then maybe we'll dive a little bit into the managing a business section. The getting started section has this is something that I think it could be important, whether you are a small business owner who is just getting started. Maybe you've been around for a number of years, or maybe you're an established small business owner. Well, the focus of this section is mostly entrepreneurial and sort of looks at those who are just sort of preparing to start a small business. I think there's really useful things here, regardless of where you're coming from or what your experience level is. I think often what can happen is that we get out there, we do all the preparation, we get started, and then we don't necessarily set aside time to take a beat, to reevaluate how things are going, to look at the data that we've gathered, and then to adjust and to hone what we're doing. So it's important to take that time to do that. And so maybe if you're in a position where you're a more mature business owner, this could be that opportunity to do that. And so ultimately, we look at is starting a business right for you, and then that has both the actual logistics of starting a business and the keys to success, taking your business digital, which we know, especially in this day and age, is extremely important, maybe very common here, but as travel around the world is a little bit less common. But certainly here we can always do a little bit better, and there's a lack of knowledge, right? I mean, things change so quickly, so we wanted to be sure that you could, as a small business owner, come find the information you need all in one spot. Creating a business plan, looks at what are the tactics of creating a business plan, plus understanding the market, then actually creating the business in a literal sense, registering your business, and how do business taxes and things like that work, and then finally look at what are some of those financial basics that you're going to have to know, and these are things that whether you're a small business owner, whether or in your personal life as well, they're going to be really important. Budgeting, saving, then maybe getting a little bit more into the small business of financing. We know that one of the big pain points for micro and small business owners especially is that access to capital. And then finally, credit reporting and scoring, which I think even if we know about that in our personal lives, it can be something that's a little bit different as you're approaching small business. Managing a business gets into a little bit more of the deeper items like financial management. So we're no longer just in the budgeting and saving level. Now we're really kind of going a little bit deeper. Payment options, meaning people paying you, you paying other people. What does that mean? What are the differences in those? Tactically, what does that mean? Banking services, types of business credit, all those sorts of things, as well as sort of analyzing things like profit and loss. And this was the most popular section, or the most the section that people asked about the most when we were doing original focus groups and things like that. It was ultimately, how do I increase my sales, right? How do I get more customers? How do I sell more to the customers that I have right now? Promoting your small business, marketing and advertising, those sorts of things. So definitely spend time there. And then we looked a little bit at some of the soft skills, right? So getting out of the just the skills that are specifically financial, and looking at some of the other skills that are there, like managing employees. What does leadership? How can leadership help in hiring for character, things like that, and as well as some of the financial things like payroll and retirement. Then we get into financial statements, and what do those mean? How can you handle everything from a balance sheet, cash flow statement, sort of the basics of these. The planning for emergencies section, we're also really pleased with, and this obviously changed when COVID started as well, and we had to sort of rethink this, reevaluate it. The idea is that whether you're talking about your personal life or whether you're talking about your business life, you want to know what your scenarios are. You want to know what your worst case scenario is, and you want to be totally prepared so that when it happens, all my documents are here. This is how I access things. This is what we do. This is, what my insurance is going to be covering. This is, how to regain power, whatever it is. That you have it, totally planned out in a way that's just appropriate for you. Hopefully you never have to use it, but sometimes you obviously will. And then, sort of in keeping with some of the similar things from financial statements, just to go into maybe a more nuanced thing when it comes to record keeping. What's the next level on budgeting, accounting, and planning, managing inventory, and then business digitization? So those are the things that whether you're a new business owner, whether you're a mature business owner, all of these are skills that are going to be very necessary, especially depending on what type of business you run. And then finally, we're going to get to building and growing, and this has a number of sections in here that we looked at, the environmental sustainability, and how can that be helpful to you as a small business owner? Not just is it the right thing to do, but how can it also be a helpful thing for you? The sustainable supply chain, which obviously we've learned a lot about a sustainable supply chain, not just from environmental sustainability, but also planning your supply chain from just from an actual sustainable supply chain, and then utilities and things like that as well. Risk management, maybe going a little bit farther onto the disaster preparedness, or just being totally prepared, and so that you can feel. Ultimately, when you do things like this, when you do your preparation, when whether it means that you have done a great business plan, whether you talk to your customers, or whether we're talking about the risk management side. Ultimately, these are things that if you do them right, you're going to feel much more comfortable as a small business owner. You're going to feel much more secure, and probably have less to worry about, because that you've done the preparation that needs to be done. And then finally, we have the stages of a business cycle, measuring success, and these are things that go into that profit and sort of growing things, and as well as that stages of the business cycle concentrates not just on what are the beginning stages of a business and how do you grow a business, but what does it mean when you are getting towards the end of your business cycle, and maybe you're looking to retire, you're looking to sell your business, you're looking to pass it on, maybe you want to sell it and start a new business. But it looks at some of those things, and what are the logistical things to go through, what are the considerations to have. And one thing that I want to say is, as you look through this, what we really tried to do was take a totally objective approach to this. So we don't promote our product, we don't promote anybody else's product as a part of this, but what we wanted to do is really sort of have an environment where we could have a conversation about what are the things that are necessary to do, and then sort of allow you to make confident and informed decisions based off of that. I think often people have really great researching skills here, but what this does is this puts all of these topics, all of these things, into one spot where you can really sort of find them easily. A couple of things that I wanted to point out here, just as we're moving on. Number one, so in this getting started section, you have, I know in some situations, you have people who come into small business and managing a small business for the first time as entrepreneurs, and who are excited, and you have an idea and you want to go out there and you really want to make something great, and that's what's driving you. And then you have people who might be approaching it from the opposite end, who they're not small business owners by choice per se. This is something that they have to do. They didn't feel like they had any other options, and creating a business was what they felt like was the only thing that was left to them. So regardless of which side you're approaching that from, hopefully, there are things in here that are going to be really helpful to you. So I'm going to go through quickly the keys to success part here. And as you see, I mean, this is a pretty easy thing to sort of, navigate and get around. It's available in English and Spanish. I should mention that this is practicalbusinessskills.com. If you go to practicalbusinessskills.org, it's the internationalized version of this. So ultimately, there's none of the U.S. Centricity to the content, and that's also available in addition to Spanish and English. It's available in French and Arabic right now, and we're doing a bunch of additional translations for that. Just as an FYI, if there's other languages you're looking for, you might find helpful. So looking at a section like this keys to success thing, we do try to, go back and forth between, some of the actual curriculum and videos and things like that. But this goes through, what's actually going to, what do you need for success? So, an action-oriented approach, talking through, finding a product market fit, going out there and, speaking with your customers about things like that. This is a whole video on, the 8 core keys to success when it comes to small business. And ultimately, I should say, these are the things that we identified as some of the keys to success for a micro and small business. You might go, oh gosh, you guys are missing this other thing, or you might find in another small business educator approaches something a little bit differently. There's a lot of great ways to approach it. This is the way that we decided to. The right people. Well-researched business plan, financial knowledge, right? So just going through, like, what are the things that you actually have to put behind each one of these areas as you're going through it. Targeted, effective processes, targeted advertising, customer loyalty, et cetera, digital presence. I'm going to dive at this point into the managing a business section, and just sort of look at one of the things that I do want to draw your attention to on the home page, and then on the landing page for each one of the sections, we have a quick quiz. And this is pretty it's pretty high level. It's not necessarily going to get to know tons and tons about you. We're not looking to gather lots and lots of information and sort of invade your privacy. But ultimately, what it is, it's 5 simple questions about where you are in your journey, and what do you know about starting a business, or where are you when it comes to managing a business. And then based off of the answers to those questions, it'll suggest a couple of the sections that might be most interesting to you. So I think those are a helpful place to start off from. If there's not something you're specifically looking for, and you're going, gosh, there's a lot of good information here, I'm not really sure where to start, that could be a really good spot to start. But as you look at, I'm going to just dive into one of the sections to give an example. Here's a financial management section. And this actually refers back to a number of these things. So managing your cash flow and expenses, your profit and loss, your payment options. So in each one of these leads to a page which is going to deal with one of these things. So banking services and types of business credit. We'll dive into the types of business credit section, the benefits of the credit, how a credit line works, how business loans work, and this type of information. All these are going to be super helpful. And then maybe there's only one piece of information you're looking for, or maybe you just don't know enough about credit. So hopefully, whether this is something where you're looking for an entire section to read through, or whether you're looking to focus in on one specific thing, there can be really, really helpful. One thing I want to look at quickly as we're talking through these, going to the resources section, we have a number of things here. We have business templates, which I'll open up. and then state resources, which I'll also open up, and then we're going to go to videos really quickly here. We also, in addition to, I don't know, approximately, I'm trying to think, we're probably around 60 some lessons at this point as you go throughout the entire site. There's also 58 videos that deliver lessons in sort of a shorter format. And ultimately, what we wanted to do here, we understand that, especially as small business owners, you have a limited amount of time, you know, and sometimes that means that you're not necessarily going to want to sit there and, you know, scroll through, read an entire section or something like that. So this tried to condense some of the lessons that we're talking about here and really just, you know, sort of condense them down into 1 minute, 2 minute videos, very short, on the level of sort of, you know, tips, just delivering to you, you know, what are the key areas when it comes to each one of these things. And ultimately with these, you know, what they're supposed to do is, you know, this is a way for you to sort of whet your appetite, maybe get a couple of tips about things. And then if you're interested, it also has a link at the end of the video to, you know, a more in-depth read on each one of the sections. So they're organized a couple of different ways. You know, you can see here we have, you know, the you know, personal finance section here. Let me go up and, oh, here we go. You can see, so, you know, in the under personal finance, just as an example, we have, you know, income and expenses, budgeting, saving, consumer financial services, debt management, fraud prevention, how to market your small business, create a business plan, 8 keys to small business success. That was the one we saw in the other one, you know, business budgeting in 4 steps, and 6 ways to fund your business. So, you know, this would be the, you know, the basic personal finance lessons that we have as a part of this. But then if you go to the bottom of the page here, you'd also see we have, you know, different learning tracks. So if, you know, instead of just saying, all right, I want to see what all of the personal finance things are, you want to know, okay, you know, what are the steps of digitizing your business or organizing your business, going to grow your business or adapt. So for, you know, digitize your business, for example, we'll look at this. And then here you have a, you know, a playlist, and on the playlist would be digital business tools, accepting digital payments, business life cycle, payment button, shopping cart, adding a payment button, payment lines, online payment acceptance, delivery, e-commerce platforms. So you see, I mean, it really kind of does a much deeper dive into, you know, performance metrics, online promotions, all of those elements, those important elements behind digitizing a business. So, you know, you might see a couple of personal finance lessons in here, but, you know, really there's going to be, you know, a heavy focus on the digitization and everything. This is one of the most popular sections of the site. You know, we get a lot of traffic here and a lot of, you know, people who are sort of just, you know, looking for that level of information, which is, you know, a little bit higher level there. I did want to show the business templates section. So we have the two, we have 2 areas here. We have the top section, which just actually has the different business templates. And this is ultimately, I mean, it was a look at what are the most basic, you know, what are the most basic things out there. I mean, you know, this is probably stuff that would come with, you know, your small business software, perhaps. But for those of you who, you know, maybe aren't using that or are looking for something a little bit more simple, or maybe you're just kind of, you know, looking for different things around, this is a good way of just sort of introducing yourself to concepts, you know, maybe, you know, finding a couple of helpful things here. And so we have, you know, things that are absolutely tied to small business, like, you know, the accounts payable and accounts receivable. But then there's all the other things we still have in here, like a shortened business plan, or actually starting a business plan and having a template for creating a business plan for that first time, maybe going back and revisiting it if you already have an established business. So lots and lots of different templates here to choose from and to look at. And once again, I mean, you know, some of them are going to be invoice, right? Very, very sort of, you know, simple and straightforward. And others would be exercises that we thought would be helpful for small businesses, like a SWOT analysis. So, and then at the bottom of the page, I do also just want to, you know, draw your attention to this. I think it's one of those sort of difficult things. Even things that might seem relatively simple, if you haven't been exposed to them before, if you don't know them, then you don't know them. So we wanted to create a section that actually has, this is all just, a bunch of templates this is the templates where they're actually filled out. And so we filled them out with sample information type of thing where, if you want to go and look at, okay, what might it look like when it's properly filled out, this section has that. So, really, really helpful way of, being able to dive into something like that. And then finally, before we wrap up and maybe, go to a couple questions, we have the, state resources. And so once again, this is all stuff that might be available to you as you go out there, but ultimately we wanted to have it condensed all down into one spot where a small business owner could come find everything they were looking for. So, particularly here for, California, you have, the Secretary of State, the Department of Labor, the Small Business Administration in California, and the annual tax filing. So for all the states, maybe you're doing some interstate business or things like that, all of them have, we have all of them sort of, chosen here and tried to pull everything together into one section that would be helpful for micro and small business owners. And then actually last thing I did actually want to show is that we have calculators on the site as well. And these are ultimately, once again, some of them are going to be a little bit more complex. Some of them are going to be a little bit more straightforward and simple, but ultimately, where you can go in and if you're just kind of playing around with some numbers in your head, you have a spot to input the numbers and, get an answer. What does this look like? If I'm doing this, what is it actually going to mean? And ultimately it can kind of help you take your abstract thoughts, take your, thoughts about, gosh, I wonder what it would be if I did this or that, and really make them very practical. Really kind of take them from that consideration phase to the reality, to really sort of test them against reality there. But yes, practical business skills. This is something we're really pleased with. We've heard some good feedback from micro and small business owners. We're looking to get more. So, as you go through it, I'd encourage you that if you do have comments or questions or anything like that, reach out to that info button. But hopefully you can find things that are going to be helpful for you and for your business. And I'm going to pause right now. I'm going to see if there, I don't know, I can see there's a couple of chats that have come up. I don't know if there are any questions, and I'm happy to take anything that's coming up.
Thank you, Hugh. There is actually a question, or actually a really great question in the chat here. You mentioned building an initial business plan and then revising it later. How many businesses that you survey end up altering their initial plan or business plan, I should say?
Oh, that's a really good question. We don't have a survey of doing that, but I think that's a good way of looking at it. I would say this is, and once again, this is not me speaking as Visa. This is me speaking as an individual and speculating. I'm going to go ahead and say 100% of businesses, just like 100% of people. Like when you make a budget, you run your budget, and then things change. Your priorities change. Your financial situation changes. Whatever it is. Changes happen, and every time that those changes happen, it's important to go back and to reevaluate it, to think about, okay, well, this is how we're going to adjust to this. This is how we're going to deliver. Has the market changed, right? People's perception of products changes, or you hear about this all the time, but one week you could be in a great situation with something, and then, the next, it could be something geographic where, another business is going, or, a specific street gets shut off, and it changes everything. So I think when you're talking about going back and reevaluating that business plan, probably no more than a year in between it. Going back and taking that, once a year to look through the business plan, look through the assumptions you made when you were doing it, sort of testing it against what's happened over the last year and evaluating, okay, this is still, right size for what I'm looking for, or wait, things have changed. Maybe I need to consider changing the things I'm doing. Ultimately, it would probably be a little bit more often than that, and it would certainly be any time some sort of big change happens. And that change, I mean, that could be a personal priority for you. I mean, maybe, what's important to you as a business owner changes. So anytime some sort of big change happens, and, maybe no more than a year apart.
Great, thank you. Another question. You spoke a little about hiring. Is there a section specifically about interviewing skills as an interviewer?
Yeah, I think we do have a section where we're talking about hiring and managing employees. I don't know. I mean, we have a very high level look at this. So, I mean, I think that this is sort of, what are the principles that are going to be important for everyone? So, we do look at things like, how do you even make that determination? Do I want to hire somebody? Do I not want to hire somebody? What is it actually going to mean? Can I afford it, et cetera? What type of employee do you need? Then, knowing the laws, writing a job description, what goes into writing a job description, and how are you going to, think about that? What does the interview process look like? And then finally, making a choice, preparing for an employee, and the things that go into that. So yes, so there is a section where, we do go into this, and even having an employee handbook and things like that. But, I would go ahead and, make sure that you're also, and I think, we talk about this in the section, but make sure you're consulting local labor laws and things like that. But this has those great principles for, what goes into, that hiring process.
Awesome. Kind of a follow-up question. Do you have advice for how small businesses can attract and retain talent in this tight labor market?
Oh dear. I'm not a small business expert. I'm an educator. So, and I should say that, I mean, I'm not here to provide advice on my behalf or even on the behalf of Visa. I would say that, there's probably good information you can find as part of this. There's probably good information you can find, elsewhere as well. I mean, I think that, when it comes to attracting and, retaining talent, and I'm just going to base this off of, small business owners that I know and people we've talked to, especially, through the process of creating this. And I do know a ton of small business owners that, I mean, number one, like being careful about who you hire, like really, thinking about who you're going to hire from a character standpoint, and, making sure that you have the people that you really want. And then, as far as retaining those people, I mean, I think even, going a little bit above and beyond. I mean, and that's just, like I said, that's not necessarily, I'm sure there's a lot of different ways to look at it, but for the small business owners that I know, for example, in the area where I live, I have a friend who probably pays his employees, 15 to 25% more than almost anybody else in the area is paying. But he has the people he wants, and they do, a really, really good job for him. And he knows that these are people who are going to go sort of above and beyond to do the right thing. So he's happy to, kind of pay them more. I'm sure it changes from place to place. I'm sure it changes from industry to industry. But I mean, I think you want to consider about, what you'd want as well. So.
Great. Another great question here. Are there any articles or resources on determining whether to make your business either business to business or business to consumer? Are there resources on building relationships with other small business owners?
Oh, actually, so that's a great question. I don't know that there's any for the last part of that. I don't know that we have anything specific about building relationships with other small business owners. Although it's a great idea for a section. And as far as choosing whether to do business to business or business to consumer, that is definitely tackled in the creating a business plan and considering and who are your customers going to be, and as you're doing that. So like I said, I don't think there's an entire section that's just tackling that, but in that sort of creation process, and as you're considering that, I do think that's a big part of it. I will say that, I mean, like, that's something we definitely know in a direction that we want to go in. We want to have more small business owner voices. I think that, one thing we've heard loud and clear from small business owners is that they want to hear from other small business owners, and not just other small business owners, but other people who might be who look like them, who are in a similar industry, who, have similar experiences and things like that, to be able to learn off of those. So that's definitely something we're hoping to be able to add into what we have. But yeah, I mean, I think that the chamber is a great place to start, right, and meet other small business owners, and this type of thing. I mean, it offers that great network to be able to do that. But no, it's a good question.
Absolutely. Thank you for that chamber plug. um, did you talk to small business owners when you guys were writing or creating this website?
Yeah, we talked to a lot of micro and small business owners when we were starting the site, and I think we're lucky in the fact that Visa being a global company. I think we have the opportunity to hear from a lot of small business owners as well. So we did a couple of things. Number one, we built a lot of the content was based off of existing programs that we were running in different places. So it was already sort of tried and true and tested. And like the entire getting started section was based off of a whole slew of courses that we'd done on entrepreneurship in Europe. And then, anyway, other sections came from different places. But yeah, so what we did is that we went out after adjusting it, and then we did focus groups here in the U.S. We did research all over the world, talking to small business owners. And this is we heard a few things. One of the big things that we heard was that small business owners really wanted to have a place where they could find objective educational materials, where they knew somebody wasn't going to be pushing some sort of specific agenda or trying to sell them something. And that's very similar to what we were already doing with practical money skills. So we were confident that this was the type of thing that would be helpful there. Then finally, the other thing that we did, working with small business owners, like that emergency disaster preparedness section is a great example. There's sections throughout the site that are like this, but that one in particular pops out to me. We would work with small business owners to actually develop specific content. That emergency section or disaster preparedness section, a small business owner, I think she was based out of Houston, and she'd had her bakery destroyed something like 3 or 4 times by hurricanes and natural disasters. So she is unfortunately has a ton of expertise when it comes to preparing for and now recovering from disasters. So she actually helped us write that entire section and really decide what was going to go into it, things like that. And as you look through the site, there are other sections like that where we had small business owners working with us who had that expertise and had a voice to tell there. So yeah, they're small business owners were sort of a big part of the development of it from a lot of different directions.
And what industries would you say are the small business owners that you worked with in creating the website?
What's that?
What industries would you say are the small businesses that you guys worked with?
Yeah, so when we were first looking to create the resource, our main focus was on micro and small businesses who were in, I would say primarily in like business to customer fields, like the goods and services, whether it be groceries and things like that, but definitely in that like business to consumer. And we were mostly thinking about those with 10 or fewer employees. And yeah, so ultimately, I think that what we ended up with, we're pretty pleased, because I would say that at least getting feedback from small business owners after that, the content that we have as the main part of the site, the stuff you actually read through, maybe trends a little bit to a little bit more sophisticated audience, whereas the videos are definitely right sized for those who are maybe just sort of approaching small business for the first time. And that was one of the reasons that we created those. So I do think it's a lot of different things. And then and as far as the industries specifically, I think we tried to have information there that was going to be helpful to almost anyone. My favorite though was we had a focus group We did a lot of different focus groups and talked to a lot of different people. We had one focus group though that had 2 mural painters in it. So I don't know about putting together that focus group. And I remember thinking that was pretty funny that in a big group of small business owners, we had 2 mural painters and just one. But, yeah.
We love the arts here, so
Exactly.
that's great to hear. What are the most popular and most visited sections of the site?
So yeah, the most popular and most visited sections, here, I'm sorry, I'm not showing my video anymore. The most popular sections are the resource section, where it has all the templates and things like that. That section is super duper popular. That gets the most traffic we have. That gets the most visits, tons and tons of downloads on things. So that's been great. And then the video section is also really popular. And actually, just one more thing that I do want to show that I did forget to show would be in the resources. So Visa has done. Am I projecting right now?
Yes, you are.
Okay, good. Visa has done a number of comics with Marvel. We're actually on our 3rd comic book at this point with Marvel. And this one, what we did, so the first one is financial inclusion, sort of, why be a part of the banking system? What does it have to do with me? That was featuring the Avengers. The second one was the Guardians of the Galaxy, and it was needs versus wants and saving for a rainy day. But this one, we took a little bit different tack, and we wanted to have more of a small business appeal to it. And so, we worked with Marvel to create this. It's featuring Black Panther, and ultimately the idea is that as you go through it as a reader, you are thinking about how can personal, financial responsibility, how can being financially responsible help me have a greater impact on my community? And it's having a greater impact on your community in a couple different ways. Like, right, it might be through, giving to charity or, being creative about the way you do that. But really what we tried to emphasize as a part of this was also supporting small business, supporting micro and small business. So I would definitely, check this out. And, we have, you can see a workbook page that we had here about, we're getting, readers, probably younger readers, to think about, starting their own business. And then, we have the 3 sections to think about, whether it's, learning, mentoring, or funding. And then, yeah, you have this great comic, which we got to work with Marvel's iconic characters and, Black Panther on this one. So really, really just trying to think about how to bring what we call, edutainment, maybe, education and entertainment, and, making it sort of fun and engaging for anyone as they're approaching it. So yeah, that's another really popular section right now. So.
Well, I think that's extremely cool. I think I might go and look myself after this.
For sure.
Well, we're kind of getting to the end. So I just wanted to thank Visa and Hugh for this lovely presentation. And your partnership is so valuable to us here at the Chamber. So thank you so much.
So happy to be here. And I mean, what a wonderful partnership.
Thank you. Again, I would like to thank our sponsors, Visa, our series sponsor, Redwood Credit Union, and Southwest for our opportunity drawing. I also like to mention a couple exciting events coming up. We have Build SF, July 13th, the new member partnership orientation, July 19th, the member-to-member events at the Golden Gate Jazz Festival, July 22nd to the 24th, the city trip to Boston, September 28th through the 30th, the Well Conference in October, and we have our Excellence in Business Award in the fall of 2022. And awards are live on the website, so please go ahead and start recommending any small businesses that you wish to get nominated for the Excellence in Business Awards. And now we will go to our opportunity drawing, which again, thank you Southwest so much for donating these 2 round trip tickets to anywhere Southwest flies. And our winner is Shafra I don't know if I said your name correctly, so I apologize, but if you can please put your email in the chat, we will send you your airline tickets. Well, thank you everyone for joining, and I look forward to seeing you all soon. Thank you.